Beautiful portrait images make people stop, look, admire, and sometimes even comment. Then those same people are just moving on because the post did not help them see themselves in the image. The image opens the door, but the written message helps the right client walk through it. In this lesson, we're going to look at how your post, your image, and your words work together to create desire, relevance, and forward movement. Hey there, Lens Legends, and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show, where we focus on the business side of photography. I'm your host, Jim Landers, your guide on the business side. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her amazing, wonderful team are just by default going to make you look like a hero to your clients. You might think, well, why is that? How would they be any different? Well, because the owner makes a difference in the business. Amanda hires fantastic people, not here today, gone tomorrow kind of people. She hires fantastic people who stick around, who love what they do. And it is that reason that by default, you look like a hero to your clients. You're going to love Digital Pro Lab. And I recommend that you go to their website right now. I'll put it up on the screen and see the difference that Digital Pro Lab can make. Go to digitalprolab.com. Digitalprolab.com. This show is also sponsored by Landers Photography School. Landers Photography School is me. I teach both the photography side and the business side, from the basics all the way to how to make money. I want you to go to landersphotoschool.com and see some of the different things that you can find there. I've written over 250 different classes over the years. You're only going to see about 20 or so there. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's just, if I put that many 250 plus classes, you're going to either be distracted, you're going to be overwhelmed, and it's just too many. So look at the ones that are there and reach out to me, Jim@landersphotoschool.com, or here on the show, Jim@portraitprofits.com, to learn more about the photography side or the business side. Now, I encourage you to ask questions, make comments throughout this lesson today. And speaking of comments, I want you to go to the comment section right now and enter in hashtag live. Hashtag live, letting me know that you're watching today on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube. We're simulcast to several different places. For those of you who are watching the replay, please enter in hashtag replay. I also request that you share the Portrait Profit Show. It's easy to do. Just click the share button. Or if you know somebody specifically, tag them, letting them know about the Portrait Profit Show. Tag just means put an @ symbol and then their name, and then they'll get a message saying something about that you're telling them to go see this show. You create beautiful work. Let's say that you have posted one of those beautiful pieces of work. You've shared it online. Maybe you've even gotten some pretty darn good compliments, a bunch of likes, a few loves, and still, despite that activity, received no inquiries. So that image may have earned some attention, but the complete post, the image and the text that went along with it, did not give the viewer enough reason to take another step. The image's first job is to earn attention. It can also establish style, feeling, credibility, desire, relevance. emotional connection, the written message can develop and direct those responses, helping the viewer connect the work to their own life and understand where that interest can lead. The image opens the door, but the written message helps the right client walk through it. That is why it helps to understand the different jobs performed by each part of the social media post. The post is the complete communication. The image and the written message work together, but they do not always contribute in the same way. In this lesson, you'll learn how to recognize when a post earns admiration but fails to create personal relevance, and how to write messages that help the right people see your work in a way that makes it feel like to them it belongs in their lives, and what step they can take next. Chapter 1. A beautiful portrait can do exactly what you hoped it would do. It can stop the scroll. It can earn a closer look. It can receive compliments, likes, and comments from people who genuinely appreciate what you created. Then nothing happens. No one asks us for a session. No one asks or even goes and visits your website. No one sends a DM, a direct message. The response remains admiration. And admiration alone does not always create any kind of movement that benefits your business. This can be confusing because the image appears to be working. People noticed it. They responded positively. Some may have even described it as a beautiful, amazing, or stunning image. I mean, those reactions are real. They make you feel real good. But they do not necessarily mean the viewer has connected to the portrait to a desire in their own life. You know, a person can admire your lighting without wanting a portrait. They can appreciate the location, the clothing, the expression, composition, the relationship that shows through in that photograph, all without imagining their own family in front of your camera. They can recognize the quality of your work and still move on, scroll past, because the post gave them no reason to think beyond the image that they were viewing. That is where admiration often stops. So our goal is not admiration, of course. The viewer sees a beautiful photograph, but the meaning remains attached to the people in the photograph. It's their family, it's their relationship, their moment, and their portrait. Oh, yeah, it looks great. I want them to see themselves in it, though. Unless the post helps the viewer make a personal connection, the viewer may remain something pleasant to observe. The image may remain something pleasant to observe, rather than something they begin to want for themselves. Your image didn't fail. It's beautiful. It earned attention. It established credibility. It may have created emotional responses. And those are valuable contributions. The problem is expecting the image to carry the entire communication by itself. A portrait naturally communicates through what can be seen. It can show affection, confidence, personality, beauty, connection, belonging. It may suggest how the experience felt, but it cannot always explain what led to that moment, why the portrait was important for the people in it. Maybe what concern was overcome to make it happen. maybe how you guided the process. The viewer is also bringing a different life, family, schedule, set of concerns, and level of readiness to the post that they're about to scroll past. I mean, what seems immediately meaningful to the family in the portrait may not feel personally relevant to people or someone seeing it the first. The written message can help close that distance. I want you to consider a stunning photograph. Just picture it in your mind. Let's say it's a family laughing together while in their backyard. The photograph communicates warmth and connection beautifully. A viewer can enjoy seeing that connection and think, what a nice family. I love that portrait. But a stronger post helps that same viewer think, huh, we haven't done a family portrait in years. Or, you know what? My children are changing quickly. Or, my favorite, I would love to have something like this. I'll talk about a paradigm shift. The viewer has moved from observing someone else's portrait to considering what the experience and finished work could mean in their own life. This is also why likes and loves are an incomplete measure of a post's effectiveness. A like may mean the viewer enjoyed the image, but it also could mean they support your work. Maybe they know the person in the photograph, so they liked it for that reason. Maybe they like the closing. Maybe they recognize the location, or they simply want to acknowledge your post because they like you. Those are all good reasons for someone to like it. It does not tell you whether the person understood your service or saw your personal relevance or became more interested in working with you. What about if they take that extra step and make some comments? I mean, they can be equally misleading when they are treated as evidence of buying interest. A comment that says beautiful image is a response to what someone saw. But an inquiry usually begins when the viewer also understands why the work may be worth pursuing. So the image opens the door, but the written message helps the right client walk through it. Have you heard me say that before? I keep repeating it. That's the third time. Might say it again. We'll see. The words can help the viewer recognize a desire, understand the meaning behind the portrait, imagine the experience, and see how your work connects to something they value. So admiration is useful. It earns attention and establishes positive regard for your work. The next job is helping the attention become personal. Because until the viewer can see more than a beautiful image you've posted, admiration may remain exactly where it began, with someone else's portrait. Are you feeling this? Is it resonating with you? If it is, say yes in the comments. Let me know. And if you haven't already, enter in hashtag live. Let me know that you're watching this show right now with me live. Chapter 2. Let's talk about what the image already communicates. Before writing the message that accompanies a portrait, begin by asking a simple question. What does this image already communicate? I mean, picture one in your mind, something you're proud of. What does this image already communicate? This question helps you avoid repeating what the viewer can already see. It also helps you recognize the work the image is already doing, so the written message can contribute something useful instead of simply describing the photograph. A strong portrait may communicate affection, confidence, joy, connection, personality, trust, belonging. It may show the style of your work, the quality of your lighting, the emotional environment you create, the kind of finished portrait someone could receive from you. The image could also create desire. A viewer may see a family portrait and want the same sense of closeness. They may see a confident business portrait. So if it's not family portrait, let's say it's a business portrait. They may see a confident business portrait and imagine feeling more prepared to represent themselves professionally. They may see a senior portrait and begin thinking about how quickly that stage of life is passing. The image itself can do a great deal. The goal of writing a caption, the text that goes with the image, is to understand what the image has already started and decide what the written message can develop. Imagine a portrait of a couple standing close together. They're smiling. Maybe there's some rolling hills. It's a warm evening. The image may already communicate something. Maybe it's affection, comfort, beauty, connection. So a caption such as, "These two were so in love," adds very little because the viewer can already see that. The same is true when the portrait shows a child laughing or a family dressed beautifully in an amazing, elegant location. A caption that says, "Look at that smile," or "Everyone looks so wonderful," simply describes what's already visible. Describing the subject often keeps the post on the surface. It continues the scroll. Your goal isn't to continue the scroll, it's to stop the scroll. The written message becomes more valuable when it reveals something the viewer could not know simply by looking. Maybe the child usually becomes uncomfortable around unfamiliar people. And this session was designed to allow enough time for confidence and personality of that child to emerge. Maybe the family had delayed portraits for several years because coordinating everyone, well, it felt overwhelming. Have you felt that one? Yeah, getting everybody together for a portrait. Come on, of course it's overwhelming. It's an easy way to put things off. Maybe it's a couple who wanted a finished portrait that represented the life they had built together. Those details add meaning because they extend the communication beyond the visible image. The same principle applies when the image communicates your style. A dramatic portrait may already show that your work is polished, intentional, carefully lit. You do not need to announce that the photograph is dramatic or professional. You can use the written message to explain why you created it that way, what the client wanted the portrait to express, or how you help them arrive at that finished result. The written message should contribute something the image cannot fully communicate on its own. That contribution may be context, meaning, or personal relevance. The image and the message should support each other rather than compete for the same job. One useful way to evaluate an image is to make a short list of what it communicates before writing the post. So you might identify the emotion visible in the portrait, the relationship or personality being expressed, the style and the quality of the work, the kind of experience the image suggests, maybe the desire the image already the image may already create. Once you identify those elements, ask what the viewer still doesn't know. That unanswered question is often where the written message should begin. The image may show a confident senior, but it does not reveal how much guidance helped that person feel comfortable for these photographs. You put effort into that. The photograph doesn't show it, but your text, the words that go along with your post, may. It may show a beautiful wall portrait, but it does not explain why the family chose to create it or what it will mean to them over time. Your written message can reveal those parts of your work. This also protects you from a common pattern, at least that I've seen. Writing captions that praise the portrait without helping the viewer understand anything new. Let me give you some examples that I would say need some improvement. Beautiful family. I'm not saying the person who posted that did anything wrong. I appreciate that they did it. It's just not the goal I'm after. How about this one? Loved the session. Now, let's talk about your post instead of someone's comment. You may comment, beautiful family. Well, yeah, they can see that by looking at the photograph. Loved this session. If I'm saying love this session, great, but how does that contribute to that photograph that I've posted? It doesn't. How about so happy with how these turned out? Quit bragging about yourself, at least in that way. Such an amazing couple. Well, they may be, but you know what? The photograph probably says that. Those are examples that need improvement. These statements may be sincere, but they usually keep the attention centered on your reaction to the image. They do little to help someone understand the value of the experience. And that's something you claim, that there's value in the experience, and yet your post doesn't say anything about the value, the meaning of the portrait, the care involved in creating it. I mean, go to your website, your About Me, it says all of that, and yet your post says none of it. A useful message moves beyond your approval of your own work. It gives the viewer information, perspective, or meaning that deepens what they may already be seeing. It may help them understand the planning behind the portrait, recognize a desire that's in their own life, or recognize or maybe imagine what it would be like to work with you. The image opens the door by creating an immediate impression. Before deciding what the words should say, pay attention to what the door already opened. Then use the written message to deepen that meaning. Clarify the relevance. Give the viewer a reason to continue. Is this helping? You guys hearing this? You feeling it? Is it making a difference? Do you agree? Hey, if it's helping, put it's helping in the comment section. It's helping. Or just say yes. But if you haven't already, enter in hashtag live, letting me know that you're watching right now live. Now I'm going to move on to chapter 3. Once you understand what the image already communicates, the next question becomes, what can the written message add? The written message should not compete with the image or repeat what the viewer can already see. Its job is to deepen the communication by adding context, meaning, relevance, and direction. The image may create an immediate emotional response. The written message can help the viewer understand that response and connect it to something in their own life. A family portrait may communicate closeness. The words can help the viewer think about the relationships in their own family. A senior portrait may communicate confidence, personality. The words can help a parent recognize how quickly this stage of the life is passing. A business portrait, it may communicate professionalism. The words can help someone consider whether the photograph representing them still match the person or business they have become. The written message develops what the image begins. So let's talk about adding context as one way of doing this. A portrait shows the finished result, but it does not always reveal what happened before that person even decided to have a portrait created. The viewer may not know, the person seeing the photograph, the person that you don't want to scroll past, may not know that, let's say it's a family portrait, may not know that the family had been postponing portraits for years because coordinating schedules was impossible. At least it felt that way. They may not know that the high school senior arrived feeling nervous, or that the business owner avoided being photographed because previous experiences had left them uncomfortable. Context gives the viewer access to the part of the experience they cannot see. It may reveal a concern that was addressed, a decision that was made, or a reason the portrait was created. This helps the viewer understand that the people in the image did not necessarily arrive confident or prepared or free of concerns, that they received guidance through your process. That kind of comment that kind of words that go along with your post can make the experience feel more attainable for them. I mentioned adding meaning, so let's talk about that. The viewer can see what the portrait looks like, but the written message can explain what it represents. Let's say it's a portrait of 3 generations. That may represent a rare opportunity to bring everyone together. A photograph of a couple may celebrate the life they have spent decades building. A portrait of a child may preserve a personality, expression, or a stage of life that the parents know will continue changing. Meaning helps the viewer see beyond the appearance. Instead of simply showing a beautiful photograph and commenting that it's beautiful, the post communicates why creating it was worthwhile. That meaning may come from the reason the client wanted the portrait. It could come from what the finished work will preserve, or how it will become part of their home and their family story. The meaning comes from the real reason the work mattered to the people who were in it. Let's talk about creating personal relevance. Personal relevance helps the viewer connect someone else's portrait to their own life. Maybe they're thinking about how much their children have changed since the last time they had a family portrait. I want them to think things like that when they're looking at my family portraits. Maybe they're waiting for their schedules to become easier. I mean, have you heard, well, things will calm down in the spring. Things will be a little bit better to handle at the beginning of the summer. Do schedules become easier? Do you have more time later? No, we're humans. We fill whatever it is that we receive. We fill it or we empty it. maybe a business photograph that is meant to represent them is several years old. Each of one of these is recognizable. They may help the viewer compare what they're seeing with something they value, need, or have been postponing. But your goal is to help them, well, help the right person recognize themselves in the reason someone else's portrait was created. When that happens, the image becomes more than something they admire. It becomes something they can begin to imagine for themselves. That's what I want the post to communicate. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to do it. One is I could reveal the care behind the work. The written message can also reveal the care that was used to help preserve or help produce the finished portrait. You may have helped choose the location, plan the clothing, prepare the family, guide expressions, manage concerns, design the finished artwork, or carry the process forward after the session. Sharing one meaningful part of that process helps the viewer understand what working with you may feel like. It shows the finished portrait came from both photographic skill and thoughtful guidance. A viewer who worries about clothing may appreciate learning that you help with wardrobe planning. A parent concerned about cooperation may benefit from hearing how you guide the session. A business owner who feels uncomfortable in front of a camera may respond to the way you help people prepare and feel more confident. Each post can reveal one useful part of the experience, usually just one. It's possible that it's two. It's not 15. Makes me think of photographers who say, I specialize in, and then list 27 things that they do. That's a creative way at looking at the word specialize. I don't know if you want to call that creative or they simply don't understand. Over time, your audience begins to understand how you serve, what it is that you make easier, what they can expect from working with you. I want you to give their interest a direction. I want the viewer to have a natural way to continue. Sometimes that direction begins with a question. Like, what would you want your family portrait to preserve about this part of your life? Sometimes it begins with an invitation, such as, if coordinating your family has kept you from creating a portrait, let's talk about how we can make the process manageable. Sometimes the next step is just to be direct. Send me a message to begin planning your family portrait. No matter what, the direction should fit the message. A reflective post may invite the viewer to consider something meaningful. A post about your process may invite a conversation. A promotional post may lead directly to an inquiry. The goal is to help the viewer know where the interest that they have can go. So to build on what the image begins before writing the post that goes with it, I want you to consider 5 questions. The first is, what did the image already communicate? The second, what would help the viewer understand the story or meaning behind it? The third, what part of the experience may feel personally relevant? The fourth, what aspect of your guidance would help the viewer feel more confident? And the last one, what is the next natural step that you want them to take? And I want you to choose only one or two. for any particular post. The strongest message adds what is most useful for that image, that audience, and that purpose. The image creates the first impression. The written message helps the viewer understand the meaning, recognize the relevance, and see a path forward with you. The image creates the first impression. The written message helps the viewer understand the meaning and recognize the relevance and see a path forward with you. Let's move on to chapter 4. By the way, every one of these Portrait Profits shows has a handout associated with it. And if you want the handout, just reach out to me. I have a suggested donation of $10. You can pay it if you want to. You don't have to pay it. But you do have to reach out to me to let me know who to send it to. Just send it to jim@portraitprofits.com. Letting me know that you want the handout. jim@portraitprofits.com. There's another way you could do that, and that's by entering #live into the comments. And let's see. I'll put that on the screen just so you know. jim@portraitprofits.com. I want to take them from the admiration that they have for my photographs to an interest that causes them to want to work with me, or to at least inquire. A useful social media post gives the viewer more than a reason to appreciate the portrait. It gives them something meaningful to consider. I want you to picture in your mind's eye a family portrait laughing together in their backyard with this message along with the post. Loved photographing this beautiful family. They were so much fun, and I'm thrilled with how these turned out. All right. Can you picture that combination? The family portrait and the post the text that you included in the post. Loved photographing this beautiful family. They were so much fun, and I am thrilled with how these turned out. You may have posted something just like that. You've definitely seen something like that. The message is warm and it's sincere. I mean, it says that you enjoyed the session and that you feel good about the portraits. Great. Is it great? Because it effectively keeps the entire post centered on your reaction. That's going to cause the scroll. They may like it. They may click the like button. They may say, beautiful image. And then they move on. Now consider what you know about the portrait that the viewer doesn't. Maybe the family chose the backyard because the children had grown up there. It had been the setting for birthday parties, summer evenings, conversations, celebrations, and ordinary moments that became part of their shared memories. So they wanted a portrait that connected their family with the place where so much of their life happened. You don't see that by looking at a family portrait, but your words can help someone see it. That understanding gives you stronger material for the post. Their backyard has been a part of their family story for years. It has held birthday celebrations and more. Countless memories. Their children may appreciate even more as they grow older. So they wanted a family portrait that preserved this stage of their lives in the place where so much of their life together had happened. The image communicates warmth, happiness, connection. The written message adds the family's reason for creating the portrait. And that reason gives the viewer an opportunity to think about the places, relationships, and stages of life they want to preserve. So the post has moved beyond your approval of the photograph. I mean, of course, you've got approval of the photograph. Why would you have posted it otherwise? It helps the viewer understand what the portrait represents. The same approach works across different kinds of portrait photography, all types of portrait photography. For example, a senior portrait you may post with a senior portrait. She was such a natural in front of the camera, and we had an amazing time creating these portraits. A message with greater meaning could say, senior year holds endings, beginnings, and decisions about what comes next. These portraits were created to preserve who she is now, her confidence, interests, personality, and the life she's preparing to carry forward. Are you feeling the difference, guys? If so, just tell me yes in the comments. Just the word yes. Let me know. And if you haven't already, enter in #live. So the portrait may already show confidence and personality in that senior. The written message connects those qualities to the significance of a senior year, so that a parent reading it may begin thinking about what they want to remember about their own high school senior at this point in life. How about a business portrait? A typical message may say, a great new headshot for amazing new local business owner. Okay. A more useful message could explain the intention behind the portrait. She wanted a portrait that felt professional, approachable, and consistent with the business that she's building. We planned the clothing, background, expression, and final use, so each decision supported the way she wanted to be represented. This message reveals the thought and guidance behind the finished result. A business owner reading it can begin evaluating whether their current photograph represents them on the same level of intention. These stronger messages come from looking beneath the visible subject and identifying the reason, concern, decision, or purpose connected to the portrait. So before writing, ask yourself, what made this portrait worth creating? Maybe it was a meaningful stage of their life. Maybe it brought several generations together. Maybe it helped someone represent a growing business with greater confidence. Maybe it preserved a relationship, personality, place, or period of life that client values. The reason gives the message substance. You could draw from the experience you created. The finished portrait may reflect wardrobe planning, location selection, guidance, careful preparation, or help choosing the final artwork. Sharing one relevant part of that process allows the viewer to understand how you help people reach the result they see, the one they were after before you began. A family concerned about coordinating clothing may appreciate learning that you guide those decisions. A parent who worries about how their children will respond may connect with a story about the way you create time and space for personalities to emerge. A business owner who feels uncertain in front of a camera may value knowing that expression, posture, clothing, background, and intended use are all planned together. The strongest detail depends on the portrait and the person you hope will connect with it. Writing toward that person does not require turning every caption into a sales pitch. That's not the goal. It's not the direction. A specific and meaningful story can naturally invite the reader to compare the portrait with their own life. A three generation portrait may prompt someone to think about the people they want included. A senior portrait may help a parent recognize how close graduation actually is. A business portrait may encourage someone to consider whether their current image still represents the professional they are today. The viewer begins forming those connections because the post gives them more to consider than the visible photograph alone. So before you click that post button, read the written message and identify what it adds. It may reveal the purpose behind the portrait. It may explain the thought behind the experience. It may connect the work to a recognizable life situation or help the viewer understand how you guide your clients. You just need one clear contribution because you're going to make lots of posts over time. Don't try to get it all into one post. A beautiful image earns attention. A meaningful message gives that attention somewhere useful to go. The last chapter. A repeatable process for writing the post. By this point, I hope a pattern is clear. A useful post begins with what the image already communicates, then adds the information that helps the right viewer connect the portrait to their own life. And when I say right viewer, I'm talking about your ideal client. So before you write, answer 5 questions. What does the image already communicate? What do I know that the viewer cannot see? Who is most likely to connect with this portrait? What should the written message add? And what is the next step? Now, don't spend a whole lot of time with this. A few notes are enough. Give you an example. I've mentioned 3 generations. Your notes might be: the image communicates warmth, connection, and family history. The viewer cannot see how much planning it took to gather everyone. The right viewer? Someone who has also been postponing their family portrait. What should the message add? Meaning and personal relevance. What would the next step be? Invite them to begin planning with you. These notes may become, here's a potential post. Getting 3 generations together took some coordination, but they were glad they made it happen. The grandparents, their children, the grandchildren, all in one place. And now they have a portrait of the family together as it is today. If gathering your family keeps getting pushed further down the calendar, we can start by working out with who you want included and finding a date that gives everyone time to plan. That's a potential post. So the process is simple. Notice what the image already says. Add what the viewer still needs. Give that interest somewhere useful to go. Remind you one more time, every single episode of the Portrait Profit Show has a handout, and you just need to reach out to me, Jim at portraitprofits.com, and ask for it. but this one actually comes with an extra. Let me put this on the screen. Let's make that a bit bigger. That should be good enough. All right. So this is actually 4 pages. You're just seeing the first one here. But this is actually a worksheet for a post. And as you're starting writing posts, this is this is beneficial for you to go through this process. After a while, you won't go through it anymore because your mind will be already set in that direction, and maybe you've tweaked it to make it even more directed to what you're trying to accomplish. But this uh, particular handout includes this worksheet that you see here on the screen. So just so you know, every single one of these episodes comes with a handout. You just have to ask for it. Jim@portraitprofits.com. All right. There we go. All right. So this brings us to the closing thoughts. Now, I'm going to be telling you in just a moment what the upcoming Portrait Profit shows are going to be about. I think you're going to be very interested in them, especially the next one, um, because I'm going to tell you how to make some money quickly. That's what the next one's about. That's just a tease. I'll tell you more information in just a moment. Let's close out this one first, though. Beautiful portraits deserve attention. And in a social media post, attention is where the opportunity begins. The next step is helping the viewer understand why it matters in their own life. That happens when the image and the written message support each other. The image creates the first impression. The words can add meaning, context, personal relevance, and a clear path to you. Your audience may already appreciate your work. They may already recognize your skill. But the stronger opportunity is helping the right person move from "that's beautiful" to "I want something like that." The shift begins with a more intentional post. So before you click post, look at the image and notice what it already communicates. Then decide what the viewer would benefit from knowing. Just one, maybe two, but keep it simple. Don't share everything you have the ability to do in every post. Keep it simple. Maybe it's the reason the portrait was created. Maybe it's the care that went into the experience. Maybe it's a familiar concern you help resolve. Maybe it's a simple invitation to begin a conversation. You just need to give each post one meaningful job. A beautiful image can slow the scroll. A thoughtful message can help someone recognize desire, understand relevance, and take the next step. The image opens the door, but the written message helps the right client walk through it. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. But now, let's talk about the upcoming shows. As you know, the Portrait Profit Show happens every single Monday. So let's talk about what's coming. In 1 week from today, this is the one I was teasing a moment ago. This is called the water method. And this is the first week of August. As you know, it's difficult sometimes to find clients. Maybe you're at a place where you just need some income now, need a win, not some interesting information that will help me in the future. You need income now. You need a practical path that you can act on today. Maybe make some money today. The water method is a same day action plan for creating one real client conversation by going where movement is already most likely. It is simple and it works. You may have tried it before. You may have forgotten about it, but I'm going to spend an hour next week helping you make some money that day. Put it on your calendar. August 1st. Is that right? August 3rd. I'll put that back up. August 3rd at noon. The next one is August 10th. And I don't have that one set yet. So I'll let you know what that's going to be about next week. But I can tell you the ones after that. By the way, the one on August 10th is at 6:30 p.m. I moved the second one of every, the second show of every single month to 6:30 in the evening. And the reason for that is twofold, really. I usually bring people on to that show, and it's easier for people I bring on, my guests, to be able to do a 6:30 in the evening than it is a noon. At least that's what I have found. But also, it gives those who can't watch at noon an opportunity to watch in the evening. So there's that. 1 week after that, we're going to be doing, that's on August 17th, the referral mistake that confuses clients. And you may be making it, but you are confusing your clients if you are. Referrals are a wonderful part of building a photography business, no doubt. They can also create confusion when someone else explains what you do incorrectly. And many of you do this without thinking. So we'll talk about the referral mistake that creates confused clients, and you'll learn how to protect the client experience, educate referral sources, and create a simple referral guide so people can recommend you accurately and professionally. Do you have a referral guide? I'm going to tell you how to make one on August 17th at noon. Put it on your calendar. And one more, closing out. There's two more in August, but I'm just going to tell you about one more in August. And this one is on August 24th, not 25th. That's interesting. Is that right? Yep. I can change that one on the fly. Some of them I can't. There we go. August 24th at noon. Personal photography projects. A professional photography business is more sustainable and enjoyable when the creative interests of the photographer are part of the plan. So we'll talk about personal photography projects as a practical way to keep your creative energy tank full. You'll get ideas on how you can adapt your own season of life and business so photography remains a source of interest, curiosity, and creative energy. We do not want to let your creative energy tank go to empty. So let's try some fun stuff. By the way, it's fun, and some of the ideas are just for your creative energy tank. Others of them might add to your income. So put it on your calendar. That, once again, is August 24th at noon. You know what? These are free lessons. I so often come across posts that say, I wish someone would have helped me. Someone's helping you. For some reason, you're not seeing it because someone's helping you. This is episode number 281. Yeah, someone's helping you. So add these free lessons to your calendar now before you forget. Lens Legends, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Portrait Profit Show. Before you post your beautiful photograph, use your words to help the viewer move from admiring someone else's portrait to imagining what you could create for them for Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab. I'm Jim Landers, and this is the Portrait Profit Show. I really look forward to watching you grow. You guys are amazing, wonderful people. Bye for now.